As you grow into a young adult, your thoughts and behaviors develop and morph into a complex picture of a unique individual. Not just any old John Smith, but rather the only human being in this world who is exactly you. You form your own opinions, ideas, and idiosyncrasies, but most of these characteristics about yourselves do not just come from nothing. You become who you are because you are influenced by the culture of the community in which you live and the people with whom you interact. Throughout the modern era of technology, though, we have been moving into a new type of society, one which has technology integrated into almost every facet of it. Television, for example, is almost like a second reality, an extension of our society and humanity to which the majority of the people in a country like the United States have access and view on a regular basis. For many of you, television and advertisements now heavily influence your thoughts and behaviors, almost dictating the type of people you consciously or unconsciously compare yourselves to. But how and why exactly do television shows and advertisements affect the way teenagers in the United States act and think regarding personal qualities of themselves and others? Studies have shown that teenagers tend to assimilate the stereotypes they learn from TV into their everyday lives. A recent survey asked participants to answer several questions about television and general trends in reality. Interestingly, the results showed that those who marked that they watched more than 4 hours of television daily had trouble answering the other questions about current issues and trends in the real world. From this, we observe an emerging trend that the more television an adolescent watches, the more likely he or she is to have an inadvertently skewed perception of reality, shifted toward television stereotypes rather than the more accurate reflections of reality. Additionally, studies have shown that the way children perceive reality is affected by the behaviors and attitudes they are exposed to, in that they take in the information they observe and mold it to fit what they already know. Such exposure often comes from television, but in a negative way. Through their inaccurate portrayals, television sends out messages that women are helpless and hopeless, while men are decisive and strong. This unfair portrayal establishes gender roles that encourage men to express leadership and women to be deferential and dependent, and non-beneficial to other members of society. Not only does this misrepresentation apply to genders, but also to many other groups in society as well. In general, this characteristic misrepresentation of societal groups, when mixed with the cognitive development of adolescence, inherently leads to the distortion away from the truth of the thoughts and views held by the adolescents. Another effect of television is that although teenagers are not necessarily defenseless against the influence of advertising and television on their views and behaviors, teenagers tend to exhibit decreased levels of skepticism toward advertising when they watch more television. Consumer skepticism is the tendency toward disbelief of advertising claims. Entertainment media has been shown to greatly harm the abilities of students to participate in concept-oriented communication, a form of communication focused on the presentation and discussion of ideas. This sort of critical thinking is necessary to determine truth from deceptive advertisements, so we can see that it is positively related to skepticism. In turn, the decreased level of critical thinking in teenagers due to elevated television viewing leads to a decrease in consumer skepticism and an increase in susceptibility to the influence of television advertising. This idea is reflected by studies that show that entertainment media is causing students in general to think less for themselves, becoming less and less able to go beyond the information that they receive. They instead accept what information they are given without trying to delve deeper into the presented subjects or investigate the topics further. Additionally, television also induces negative passivity in its viewers, in essence conditioning them to learn poorly, because active engagement is necessary for good learning. Overall, even though adolescents do naturally have a mechanism to avoid being influenced, the act of actually watching television decreases their ability to think critically and remain skeptical to advertisements. Though adolescents may be skeptical, they still attempt to change the way they look and act in an attempt to bolster self-esteem by conforming to certain trends that are idealized by advertisements. This is partially because when teenagers transition into adulthood, they go through many changes that make them more self-conscious and in turn more open to conformity. Studies show that girls who watch commercials that objectify women tend to try to look more youthful, glamorous, and slim in an attempt to appeal to men. These attempts at conformity are especially harmful when teenagers are healthier than they think they are. In many cases, when an advertisement shows a skinny model, emphasizing that she is beautiful and attractive to men, a girl will try to lose weight even if her weight is perfectly normal and healthy for her height and age. Consequently, the adolescents become too preoccupied with society's stereotyped ideal female, and their self-judgment becomes negatively impacted. This paradigm of perfection then sets teenagers on an impossible quest for a destination they can never reach, a destination that most would argue does not even exist. In turn, the unrealistic ideals conveyed by advertisements and television shows harm adolescents emotionally and physically in their attempts to embody the perceived perfect qualities they are shown. Now that we see what harm television and advertisements do to us, what can we do differently? Try stepping away from the screen more often. Go outside. Ride a bike. Spend time with your friends. Read a book. Regardless of what you do, remember to look at the world with a wider lens. See all the sides of issues and don't let your actions and thoughts be governed by deceptive portrayals of reality. Be your own person. Thanks.